Uh, we're going to beam our focus on the main issue that is, that's taking center stage in Nigerian politics. Supreme Court stops allocation to River State and sacks local government chairman. This is coming from Saturday Tribune, and of course, this story is awash across all national dailies. And we'll have a legal practitioner and a veteran journalist in the house to give us some of his perspective to this subject matter. He is Barrister Uche Maduemesi, and he's in studio to have a chat with us. Good morning, Barrister, and thank you for coming here to have this discussion with us.
Good morning, Chigi. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. What are your thoughts? Supreme Court stops allocation, sacks to River State and sacks local government chairman, stating that every other thing that happened prior to that time was null and void because they were not backed by constitution. What are your thoughts exactly? Many people, I beg your pardon, are enraged. Others are, of course, obviously elated. In cases like this, you'll find out that people will be elated, others won't be as happy as the others. But then, it leaves a lot to wonder. So I want you, as a legal practitioner, to give me your perspective to this judgment by the Supreme Court.
Well, thank you again for having me. First of all, when I had the judgment, when I saw it on news,
Yes.
in the news, as a matter of fact, I received it with mixed feelings. One, where are we headed? That was the question I asked myself. But again, until we get the details of the judgment, but on the face of it, the one talking about the local government chairman, the recently elected local government chairman, the court said that the state electoral commission did not follow the guidelines in the constitution. That one is fair enough. It's constitutional provision. Because there's the issue of when you make the announcement, there is a certain period allowing for people to indicate their interest. There's a certain period for revision of voters list. All those things are specified. So 1 month, 2 months, 3 months. If the guidelines were not followed, no issues. The court was right in delivering the judgment.
Okay.
There's no issue about that. Because all we are talking about is the Supreme Court should be the last hope of the common man. Anybody who feels aggrieved about certain things will now be hoping that when it gets to the Supreme Court that the right thing will be done. If what you are supposed to do, you are not doing them, maybe you feel you have the authority, you are in charge of government, then one believes that by the time it gets to the Supreme Court, the justices there, with the knowledge they have, will be able to put things in the right perspective. That of River State, certain procedures, certain guidelines were not followed. That is enough time for the publication concerning the election, then the people filing their intents or whatever, the revision of voters. I think there are some 1 month, 2 months, or whatever, that should be enough. But the election just came up as if everybody was in a hurry. That's exactly what happened. And that's where they latched on to now say that whatever they did was unconstitutional, and it stands. I don't have any issues about that. But again, another thing is what happens to the state, because the issue of saying...
Yeah, before we get to that, sorry for cutting you short.
Go on.
I want you to answer to something. Now, River State government didn't just start running with just 4 legislators. Something actually transpired that led to all that. Now, at a point, the 20-something legislators defected to APC. There were campaigns, there were affidavits sworn, there was affidavits sworn, and so many other things.
Good.
Now, at this point, would you actually blame the River State government for, towing the part that they did, seeing that a greater number of the legislators were pro-Wike?
No, the issue is not being pro-Wike or not, but the problem is
The faction.
what the Constitution says. The Constitution says in Section 109 that a member of a House of Assembly can lose his seat if he defects, if he leaves the party that sponsored his election. It's better we
Read it out in black and white.
yes, so that people will understand. Section 109, a member of a House of Assembly shall vacate his seat in the House if you come to sub G, being a person whose election to the House of Assembly was sponsored by a political party, he becomes a member of another political party before the expiration of the period for which that House was elected. Very clear. Those people defected. And it is not a question of rumor. They deposed to an affidavit in court. It was in public domain. And again, even APC as a party held a reception for them in one local government. It was a very big,
it's all over the internet.
it was a rally. I mean, so they have gone, they have defected. It's there clearly stated. No one is thinking whether they defected or not. So I had thought that the constitutional provision which they have flouted or which had just shown in section 9 sub G should be upheld. So now giving them recognition, some people, a group of people who had already gone, they have left, giving them recognition as still being members of the House of Assembly is wrong. And I remember, I read somewhere where the court was making reference to, alluding to the fact that the House of Assembly was not properly constituted or not. It's wrong. Regardless of the number, a house can work.
I need you to say that again.
Where they talked about that the house,
they can't legislate with just four members.
It's wrong. Section 102 of the Constitution says.
Could you read it out?
A House of Assembly may act notwithstanding any vacancy in its membership, and the presence or participation of any person not entitled to be present at or to participate in the proceedings of the House shall not invalidate such proceedings. What are we talking about? You can't say that the assembly was not properly constituted. They have a speaker. You understand me? That is the constitutional provision, which is the ground norm for which this country is being run. So anything outside of the constitutional provision is wrong.
Now the question is, like you rightly alluded to the fact that the Supreme Court is the last line of defense for the common man.
Yes.
And they are the ones that have put forward this judgment. Like you said earlier, you asked earlier, where do we go from here? Because you have read out the Constitution in black and white. It's obvious that these people were acting, being backed by the Constitution. So where do we go from here? Do we rest our oars and throw up our hands in the air and say, well,
no, we can't, because if we allow things to go the way they are going, one day we will be engulfed in a very violent situation nobody can imagine. Because there's a way you press somebody, if it gets to the wall, the person is bound to react. And that is the situation we are inching towards. You understand me?
Yes.
Now, I've talked about they are being properly constituted. That's the House of Assembly. They have a speaker. So the governor reserves the right and every authority to deal with them. Then, why should the Supreme Court now give credence to people who are acting out of the law?
Do you think that the counsel to the other party didn't do much of a good job?
No, I wouldn't think so. They must have done. They must have done what they're supposed to do. In any case, they have the Constitution. But what I want to say is this. It is high time the Supreme Court justices should sit down and reassess themselves. Are they working with the Constitution? What they are doing, is it in line with the oath of office which they took? I believe the fundamental oath of office, anybody who is taking any public position or in terms of being a justice of a court, is to uphold justice and say the truth the way it is. And most importantly, use the Constitution. Anything you are doing outside the Constitution is null and void. And you asked, for the fact that they are the last court, because now someone will say what they have delivered is final. We need to rejig our Constitution. That section 205, which gives finality of decisions on the Supreme Court, should be looked into. Because there are situations they have done things or given or have given rulings that are not in tandem with our ground norm. Let me give you instances. This same Supreme Court delivered judgment on the Imo governorship election. A situation where somebody who came fourth was now declared the winner. The same Supreme Court, in one of the cases that came before it, declared that the APC had no candidate. As a matter of fact, when Mr. Nwosu, the in-law to Rocha Sokorocha, there was a matter that even came up to the Supreme Court. Because they now said, Mr. Nwosu, how come you are now presenting yourself as the gubernatorial candidate of AA Action Alliance and at the same time that of APC? They threw out the matter and reprimanded him that it was kind of double candidature as the case may be, and declared that APC had no candidate. Then how come somebody fought from the same party the court declared as no candidate now was declared the winner? Now you now ask yourself, don't they have a library? I don't think they are over 50 or up to 50. They should be sitting amongst themselves to know the judgments they have delivered. There should be consistency in what they are doing. Because before I made a statement concerning if they are not dealing with the Constitution, the same Supreme Court during the presidential election, and the matters that came before it leading because of the presidential election, where people were contesting the eligibility of Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Tinubu, going by what we have in the Constitution, did not pass through the stipulations of Section 137. That 137 has to do with if you have a case of forged certificates, if you have any case in which you've been convicted by a court, a properly constituted court or tribunal or whatever, either jailed, or even if you have been given a fine, that is, which means you'll be convicted but fined, instead of going to jail. And also, even if you have, and also the issue of dual citizenship. Tinubu, it was even revealed, had a passport of Guinea, one West African country. We have all this. And still, the Supreme Court looked the other way and delivered the judgment which they did. And a lot of people have been asking, from then till now, where are we?
Of course, in retrospect, and of course, based on things that have been happening, would it be right to say that a level of independence has been taken from the judiciary?
No, they are no longer independent. They have been pocketed by the ruling party. As a matter of fact, this is not only APC. Problem we are having is that, like you said, the judiciary is no longer independent. Any party in power, they tend to kowtow. They are not doing what they are supposed to do. Probably they are afraid of their positions.
So who will do the rejigging?
You say who will do the rejigging?
Rejigging, yeah.
Now the National Assembly should rejig the law.
They too, are they independent?
But that's the problem. Because some of the things to be done, they are the beneficiaries. The other day, Akpabio was making statement and said court declared senators. He himself, was he not declared by the court? Did he win? Was he eligible to contest? He was not. But his name was found, was there. And at the end of the day, he was declared winner. What are we doing? The democracy we have in this country, as a matter of fact, we don't have democracy in this country. What we have is civil rule. It's dictatorship. That's what we have. Because nothing, if we are operating a democracy, then we should abide by the tenets of democracy. Government of the people, by the people, and for the people. And again, the judiciary being an arm, you have the judiciary, the legislature, and the executive, legislature, and the judiciary. And each and every one of them is supposed to be independent, to be acting as check and balances for the other. Okay. But unfortunately, the judiciary, they have thrown their own right away. They have. Because situations where you have issues, you go to court, there are even these allegations that, some unwholesome things going on, bribery, whatever, that. I mean, why? They are supposed to be independent. So that when they say A is A, whichever, either of the parties, either you are for or against, at least you can go home and say this, I mean, that's the right thing. But a situation where you see something that is green, and somebody will not mention that is green, they will now be telling you that is opaque, or, you know, or something of that nature. It's very painful. Our democracy is in dire straits.
Now you've painted a very dire situation.
Yes.
But then the question is, what's the way forward? Let's take it back to River State. If you, given your experience and expertise, what would be your legal advice to Rivers government? Should they just resign to faith? Because the last line of defense has said this is what it is.
Well, as I yesterday, the governor of the state, Fubara, had said that yes, they have had the ruling of the Supreme Court, but again he pointed out that there is also another matter before a federal high court, and definitely that matter will get to the Supreme Court. That until that one is disposed of, they can now say, well, that they have resigned to faith. They have not. Everybody is still back to the trenches. So let nobody rejoice yet. You understand me? Let nobody rejoice yet. Because it's just that finality of the Supreme Court, that is why some people are now feeling, they can rejoice. But it's a situation where I think the matter that came before them, the one they delivered judgment yesterday, has to do with that of the local government elections.
Yes.
The other crunchy one is still coming. But for them now to make that pronouncement whereby saying that those 28, recognizing the group of the one Amehule or whatever as the speaker, that the governor should be dealing with that one, they shouldn't have made that pronouncement. They shouldn't. Knowing fully well that the same matter will still come before them. If that matter comes before that, the one at the Federal High Court now comes to them, what will they do? Will they reverse themselves?
You know, I think the
and again, let me say this.
Okay.
The Supreme Court can reverse itself if it finds out that the judgment it gave in a matter was wrong.
Are they can history attest to this?
Yes.
There have been cases.
There have been cases. Supreme Court will now make final judgment and correct itself. It's not cast in stone. But such situations happen where in a situation where people or where the justices, they will now be honest enough to now say, they have realized apparently they were misinformed or whatever. You understand what I mean? But the court can reverse itself if it finds out that the earlier decision given was defective.
Now, is it possible that an applicant can call for a change in the justices that sit?
Can call for a review.
Can call for a review.
A review of the judgment.
They don't have the right to call for a change in.
Not change, just to review. The judgment decision.
So there can be an application for a review.
There can be an
particular
application
judgment.
for a review of yes.
Okay.
It had happened. It had happened. The one involving political parties like ABGA, the one involving which other matter again. Okay. Yes. Okay. Yes, they can call for a review. Okay. So, pointing out these are the areas.
But there must be fresh evidence. There must be fresh evidence to back the application, right?
You are not going to add any other thing fresh. But the most important thing is to point out to them, these are the facts or these are the evidence we had before you, which you failed to look into or address. Just point them out. See this issue, item A, B, C. Apparently you glossed over it, or you did not address it critically. What are you going to do about it? So there's a situation somebody can apply for a review. Yes. Okay. But again, they have to have the balls and the integrity to reverse themselves when they find out that they did the wrong thing at the issue.
All right. Now, going back to, there were several pronouncements. You talked about the local government elections that was annulled. You agreed to it because it was done in a bit of a hurry. And then you mentioned the one of the House of Assembly. You didn't quite agree with it because it went against some of the tenets of the Constitution. Now, let's talk about allocation. the River State allocation that was halted by the court. What's your take on that?
It's wrong. Then what about the people? Wouldn't the government run? Wouldn't they provide services to the people? It's wrong. They're just punishing the people of River State because the government must pay salaries. The government must embark on projects which they are doing for the good of the people. If you stop the allocation, what do you want the governor to do? Self-help? Where would they raise the money to offer services or whatever to the people?
And pay salaries.
And pay salaries. So it's wrong. Because at times, when things happen, like let me even go back again to the Supreme Court justices, one will now ask, are they not members of this society? They are not living in the moon. They know what is happening. So there are certain judgments or certain rulings, they will even read the mood of the society. You don't have to embark on something you know that at the end of the day, it might cause violence. But that does not mean that you throw away the constitutional provisions. Like I said, that of the local governments, the election or whatever, they did not follow the guidelines as stipulated in law.
Yes, you mentioned
no
that.
issues. But the other one, how come you are now asking the state governor to present himself before a House of Assembly, a group of people that have defected, they have lost their seats as enshrined in the Constitution. As a matter of fact, they are no longer members of the House of Assembly. They are not. But the problem is that we've not been able to make that constitutional provision work in this country.
Yeah.
Because even members of the National Assembly, every day you hear that this senator has a rest person has moved to this other party. They will clap. Hey. What about the constitutional provision? If you move, you leave your seat. You leave your seat so that the INEC will conduct an election. But the problem we have in this country, democracy, judiciary, and INEC. If INEC is doing what they are supposed to do, some of these problems we're having, we won't be having them. The issue of the defection. When it was glaring that the people that had defected, there was an affidavit deposed by them in public domain, and even a reception by the party for them in a rally in a local government. The INEC supposed to have brought out a notice as to when to conduct another election to replace those people. But they didn't. They didn't. The same way all these people defected in National Assembly, there's a provision in the Constitution where the National Electoral Commission, after about 1 month or so, then should publish timetable as to hold
a
by-election to replace. But they are not doing it. They are not doing it. So like I said, INEC, if INEC were to be doing what they are supposed to do, some of these problems will not be happening. Come to that of Tinubu, for instance. Let me even leave Tinubu like any other. There are several candidates that contested the elections in this country whereby there were matters in court concerning their eligibility. It's left for INEC to now say this person is not eligible. You know, all the while the issue of Tinubu was going on, INEC never said anything. If they had said you are not eligible to contest an election which we are conducting, it's also part of their guidelines to vet and screen anybody who is contesting an election which they are supervising or conducting. If they have had the balls to now say, candidate A, from what we have and what is before us, you are not eligible, there won't be anything, there won't be any point going to the court. But the very first gate where they will do the checkmating had now left it ajar, nothing. Then you are waiting for the judiciary. So INEC and judiciary, they are the bane of our democracy.
And again, I'll ask, how independent is INEC?
It is not. Leave that name. Independent National is not. It's not independent. Because if INEC were to be independent, they will stand their ground and do things the way they're supposed to do.
All right, Barrister, as we speak, Saturday Nation says concerning the Supreme Court judgment, jubilant Uche storms Rivers, Fubara calm somber. What are your thoughts? As we speak, Minister of the FCT, Nyesom Wike, is currently in Rivers State. And they say he's jubilant. And he's saying we'll do what's best for Rivers. You know, and his camp is jubilant. What are your thoughts?
Do you know the irony of life? There are even clips in the social media where Uche was making public statements referring to people who defected. And he declared that he would never tolerate any defection in River State. If you defect, you follow them. I'm quoting what he said. You follow them. That anybody who has defected has lost his seat and whatever. This is the same person. That thing you preached against, that thing you stood against, you are now fanning that ember.
Of the faction?
Yes. Then he's now saying they will do what is best for River State, which means he has left office. I remember even when he said that if he leaves office, he will now go, he won't have anything to do with trying to control whoever comes after him or whatever. Is he doing that thing now? He's not.
And he himself hasn't defected from PDP.
Oh, you ask me. Maybe on paper he hasn't. But in practice, you understand me? He is the person causing the problem in PDP. Okay? So, problem we are having is that we don't have politicians who are principled. What we have in this country is political banditry. There are bandits as politicians. Political banditry. That is what we have.
What?
Somebody will move from this political party, go to another party and be causing confusion, or even cause confusion wherever he is, go to another one and be causing confusion. They will accept him or her. Then from there, after some time, he moves again to another. This political banditry. None of them, you will tell me, that has the interest of the people that even voted them into office. None. It's all about their selfish interests.
But then one would wonder, what's Wike's annoyance with the PDP? Because at a point in this country, Uche was a strong man of the PDP.
He was.
So at what point did he fall out, or did PDP fall out of favor with Nyesom Wike?
It just because what he wanted, he was not able to achieve it.
What exactly was done?
He was trying to put people surrogates in certain positions. He wanted to put the national chairman.
It wasn't even about the presidency?
No. Before he contested, these were some of the reasons P2B left PDP. Because he was one of the people that was taking it. Because of his ambition. You know, they put certain things in place that make P2B not to even want, you know, to continue. Being somebody with integrity, he saw the handwriting on the wall and left. And he eventually, Wike, contested for the presidency. It became clear that was what he wanted. He did, and failed the primaries. And you know, he was the last two. He failed. Then now, after that sojourn, aborted sojourn, now he started by installing the national chairman of the party. That's the problem. So you are asking me the problem he has with PDP is he wants to install people who are in position of authority in the party, so that he will be in his house and make a call, don't allow this, don't allow this, so that they will now be doing his bidding. As a matter of fact, what is his backbone or whatever he has, because he was having the resources of the state government. And we are in a country where nobody asks you how you manage the
zero
public
accountability.
Fund. How you manage the public fund. You see somebody, maybe as poor as I am, by the time he finds himself in a certain office, even within the term of office or even shortly after, you will hear that the person is amassing wealth, so many properties here and there, which by the time you check the value of such things, and if you add what is supposed to be the remuneration of the person from the first day in office to the last day, if you put them together, assuming the person did not withdraw a dime from the pool,
Stash.
the person will not be in a position to have those things. But they are here. It's happening in this country, and nobody is asking any questions.
Now, between when the court judgment was issued and currently, now the estranged lawmakers, they have actually sat. They have had a meeting. There's a name for them for the when they sit and they deliberate. Now, how legal is that, or was that meeting? Seeing that, like you earlier mentioned, there's another case in the High Court.
Yes, their defection had not been taken care of by the court.
So the sitting by those lawmakers was
illegal.
Okay.
It's illegal because there's still a matter in court. They have not finished. It's illegal. Even the matter in court is the one challenging their defection.
At this point, because no one has actually come out to say, okay, that their sitting is illegal, do you think there's a possibility or a move to try to impeach, similar Fubara?
But that has been the objective. So even if you are sleeping now, somebody wakes you up and asks you, do you think of a time that these people will impeach Fubara? Won't you say no? You will know. That's the objective. They want to remove him from office. But again, whatever you want to do it in line with the Constitution. Before anyone is impeached, the person must have committed impeachable offense. And, you go the whole hog of trial, setting a panel, you call the person to defend himself. But you don't just start doing anything with a fixed position. You understand me? So you're asking whether they will impeach Fubara. That's the objective. If he didn't manifest as Adela by now, it must have blossomed and manifested. So any opportunity they have to come together and recognize that, then that's the next thing they will do. They must look for something to do and push him out of office.
All right, before we leave this particular discussion, don't forget we're still talking about the Supreme Court judgment on Rivers State. How would you advise Governor Fubara, being a legal practitioner yourself? What are the things he needs to do right now to protect himself and, of course, his people?
Well, what I want to let him know that he has executive powers. But he should try and exercise that executive power within the ambit of the law. He should not go for self-help. You understand me? Like he said yesterday when he said that he have listened to the court judgment, that they will study it to know the next step to do. That's the best thing to do, and that's the best thing to say, because anything he does or says might
worsen the situation,
violence in that state, because he has supporters. You understand me? Because somebody who has that executive power, now he has supporters. He must have amassed lots and lots of supporters. So he has to wait. He has to be advised properly, and he has to take legal steps to continue his governance.
All right, fair enough. So let's focus beam light on what's happening in Enugu State House of Assembly. Currently, there's a bill being sponsored on 1 minute. The bill is on the rents. 1 minute. Okay. The bill is to reduce high agency and related charges on rents in Enugu. I think that's passed its second reading, and it's being sponsored by Honorable Okemba. Now, you're a legal practitioner. What do you think this bill is timely in Enugu, at this time? And what do you feel are some of the reasons, why this bill was, actually sponsored at this particular time?
Well, to me, as a citizen of Enugu State or as a resident of Enugu State, the bill is timely because people are passing through lots and lots of situations. Because There are now prevalent cases of high rents. You see somebody maybe paying maybe 300,000 per flat. Then before you know it, it's now 700,000. Now you see situations where people, after constructing a house, if you got, there are some flats in this Enugu that are now up to 1.2, 1.3 million. You now ask yourself, Enugu State is a civil service or civil servant state. Where do people get that money? And there are some people, when you talk them, they will tell you because of high cost of building materials and all the rest. Yes, I agree. But again, it's excessive. And you have to know this. All these things were triggered by the withdrawal of petroleum, of subsidy on petroleum products, because there was a spiral effect. All sectors of the economy, was affected. And you see somebody will now tell you that this house, I built it. I'm having the hope that from there I'll be getting what I eat. Then whatever, if he goes to the market and cannot, what he used to buy 5 naira, they now tell him it's 30 naira. He will now come back and go to his own market and increase in order to have the resources to get, what he or she uses to feed the family. Like pointedly, is timely, and the need is to see how affordable housing will be provided for the residents of Enugu State. It's okay, it's timely. I am for it. It's okay. Then the other aspect where they talked about agents paying 10% of whatever as agency fee.
And lawyers' fee too.
Lawyers' fee, even the MBA has already made it. That's the 10% remuneration on MBA. If you are doing any document concerning real estate, land, whatever, it's 10%. Okay. It's by the MBA. It's there. But there's nothing
it's
like
backed by policy.
Yes, there's nothing like agents. There is no association or there's no whatever by the agents. It's not. The problem we're having is you see people now going, maybe after doing business, having failed ventures or whatever, will now be going about that he's an agent. He's into selling of properties or renting. Then what do? If they find out there's a vacant property on this table, and knows that you are looking for a house, just to come and point, this is where it is, and they'll be telling you, you give him a certain amount of money. And there are even situations, they even tell the owner of the properties, sell this property or rent this property on so amount that you get your money. Most of these high increase or high cost of it are even caused by agents. 80% of them caused by agents. So it's only rare. You see some landlords or property owners, say landlord would now say, no.
Yes.
This is my property, this flat is 250,000, 300,000.
Right.
If you are telling me, no, I don't want to rent it, this is how much it is. So, but very few of them.
That's right.
So, the bill is okay, it's timely, let them do what they're supposed to do, but again, they have to, it should not be the one whereby in the morning, you hear that first reading has gone. By afternoon, second reading. By evening, third reading. This is a bill that affects majority of the people. There should be a public hearing.
Absolutely.
That's the way bills are done. Absolutely. So that people can now come and contribute. They must have to have inputs from members of the public to let them, to enable them fine-tune what they
view to the subject matter.
Save Nature TV. News in your pocket.